Things are getting insane with the SEC as Commissioner Mark Uyeda goes on TV and says the SEC's handling of crypto has been disastrous. And Ripple has filed a cross appeal, and another exchange is suing the SEC over XRP futures, and Gary Gensler is suing another crypto liquidity firm. It's insane. But we got positive news as well. South Korea is about to approve Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, big news around the SEC, so please watch and listen to the end. It's a lot, but it's very important. First up, Stuart Alderati, Chief Legal Officer at Ripple, tweeted out that they are filing a cross appeal against the SEC. If you recall, the SEC is appealing Judge Torres's ruling in the XRP case. Well, Ripple's saying, we're going to fight you on this, and they're going to cross appeal whatever the SEC comes up with in their details that they're going to provide pretty soon on the appeal. So Stewart said the SEC lost on all key points. That's why they appealed. Today, Ripple filed a cross appeal to ensure nothing's left on the table, including the argument that there can't be an investment contract without there being essential rights and obligations found in the contract. Importantly, the SEC has already said they aren't appealing the ruling that XRP itself isn't a security. They even apologized in another case for suggesting a token itself could be a security. That's the law, and an appeal on these other issues doesn't change it. Last year, the SEC unsuccessfully tried to take an early appeal of the rulings that Ripple's XRP sales on exchanges and Ripple's other XRP distributions, like to employees and developers, weren't securities. They'll likely go after these again, and they will lose on both again. We look forward to the Federal Court of Appeals finally putting a stake in the heart of Gary Gensler's misguided attack on our industry. Now check this out, guys. Crypto derivatives exchange Bitnomial is suing the SEC over the agency's claim that it has authority over its planned XRP futures contract. Wow. This is another exchange that's going on the offensive. Just earlier this week, we saw Crypto.com launch a lawsuit against the SEC. And this is what you got to do. You got to punch back against the bully. And with all of these exchanges proactively suing the SEC, it's going to tie up the SEC's legal resources. It's going to be a mess. But this is what Gary Gensler wants, and he's in for a fight because these companies are not backing down anymore. They're not scared. They see the writing on the wall with the election, the spending that the crypto industry is doing. Gary Gensler's losing in the court, and he's getting called out by Democrats, not only Republicans. So Gary has lost the narrative. Him and Elizabeth Warren are on an island. And just yesterday, I told you guys about the spending that is being done in Ohio to unseat Sherrod Brown, who is a general in Elizabeth Warren's anti-crypto army. So these people are starting to lose in the elections, and the industry recognizes that, and they're going after Gensler, who is a scumbag regulator. So Eleanor Turret of Fox Business said Bitnomial says it's filed for an XRP futures contract with its primary regulator, the CFTC, in August, which resulted in the SEC threatening that the exchange would be in violation of federal securities laws, as the agency considers XRP futures to be security futures. But wait a minute, Judge Torres's ruling says XRP intrinsically is not a security. Secondary market sales are not security. So this is where the SEC is going to be in very big trouble. Bitnomial argues that XRP futures should be solely under the CFTC's jurisdiction, as it's a futures product and a court has ruled that XRP is not a security. Gensler is going to be in trouble, but right now he's just an agent of chaos. He just wants to make it very cumbersome and arduous for these crypto companies to even do anything, because his goal is to help his Wall Street buddies catch up and create their own version of XRP and Bitcoin and whatever else, right? I'm just giving a top level analogy here, but I hope you see what's happening. But the courts, as I've been saying, is the ultimate equalizer. And I'm so happy to see these companies punching back against this bully and this lying scumbag. So this is really bullish, guys. Now, the SEC continued its scumbag activity by suing another company, Cumberland. And Cumberland is, in their profile, they say they are a global leader offering 24/7 access to deep crypto liquidity. They tweeted out a full letter. I'll read part of it. Today, we became the latest target of the SEC's enforcement-first approach to stifling innovation and preventing legitimate companies from engaging in digital assets. This comes despite bipartisan pushback on this approach in the most recent House Financial Services Committee hearing, in which the SEC was called a rogue agency, cited for its failure to work with Congress and taken a task for abusing its power. At issue in our case is the SEC's view that some of our transactions involving certain crypto assets were securities transactions. We have engaged in 5 years of good faith discussions with the SEC on this point. On our end, we've shared dozens of written summaries and statements, produced thousands of pages of material, and made our senior management and compliance personnel available for many hours of interviews. Today's complaint is the first time the SEC has outlined the specific transactions at issue. So this is one of the problems that we've heard from these different companies over the years. They try to go in and work with the SEC, and Gensler stabs them in the back, right? He pretends like he's going to work with you in good faith, but instead he's looking for that gotcha information so he can use it against you. What type of regulator is that? He doesn't give you the clear rules of the roads. He doesn't tell you what's a security and what's not. He's regulating by regulation by enforcement, and that is pathetic. Now, here's what some folks in the industry had to say. Here, one lawyer from Cooley LLP said, suing good actors for failing to register while making it practically impossible to register amounts to a shadow ban of crypto. The SEC is supposed to protect investors, the market, and facilitate capital formation. These actions don't do any of that. Dan Spuller of the Blockchain Association said, today's action against Cumberland underscores how the SEC's troubling interpretation of the Howey test stretches far beyond any reasonable or historical precedent. Threatening the very foundations of innovation and the digital asset space, Gary Gensler's unchecked reign has become a defining legacy of the Biden-Harris White House, eroding America's crypto potential, damaging our global reputation for ingenuity and innovation, and undermining the morale and prestige of the SEC as an agency. Well put. And what's very surprising, Commissioner Mark Uyeda went on TV, guys, Fox Business, and he said, the SEC's approach to crypto is a disaster for the whole industry. That's pretty scathing, right? You have Hester Peirce, who has been a very vocal critic. She's dissented many times. We've seen Mark Uyeda dissent in letters, but now he's starting to make the media rounds. And I think that's important to have another voice who is coming out and calling out the SEC on these BS actions. If you recall the hearing that took place a couple of weeks ago where all 5 commissioners went before Congress, he made some pretty strong remarks there too, saying he's been at the SEC for a long time, and this is the first time he's experiencing this type of nonsense. So let me play the clip and so you guys can hear directly from the horse's mouth.
Well, it's great to be here.
What is the SEC doing regarding crypto?
Well, I think our policies and our approach for the last several years have been just really a disaster for the whole industry. We have been setting this policy through enforcement. We've done nothing to provide guidance on it. And as a result, this is being shaped by the courts. And different courts have ruled different ways. I think what this Wells notice is, and while I won't comment on the specifics of this litigation, what has gone on is part of a broader frustration with the fact that we have not provided interpretive guidance as to what you can and cannot do. And if you are involved in some sort of securities offering, how you register, how you get regulated as a broker-dealer, how you get registered as an exchange.
Wow. So really scathing remarks, and it totally exposes Gensler. And he's talking about specifically the Crypto.com lawsuit against the SEC, saying the agency has not provided any guidance and has made it unclear what the rules are. So I love that Mark Uyeda is doing this and exposing scumbag regulator Gary Gensler. Now, guys, before we continue, quick word from our sponsor, and that is BitGo, which is one of the top crypto custodians in the crypto industry. BitGo is headed up by Mike Belshi, who's a Web 1.0 and 2.0 legend. The man was at Netscape, he was at Google, and so forth. And he has one of the best custodian companies out there. Many big companies use BitGo for the custody services like Bitstamp Exchange, 21 shares. So BitGo helps to custody some of the Bitcoin and Ethereum for the ETFs. Polygon uses them. The HBAR Foundation, Pantera Capital, that's Dan Moorhead. So BitGo has a lot of great services. They also have a great self-hosted wallet that retail users can use, so you can check that out. And Nike also uses BitGo's wallet services for their NFTs. So if you'd like to learn more about BitGo, visit bitgo.com. Link will be in the description. Now, guys, Ripple made a big announcement today. They said they are launching new features for Ripple Custody, bringing bank-grade custody solutions to fintech and crypto businesses. Here they highlighted the benefits: simplified onboarding, XRP ledger tokenization and decentralized exchange support, pre-configured policy frameworks. It says RT compliance monitoring and new UI, so maybe user interface. So this is really bullish. Monica Long of Ripple said Ripple Custody is the de facto tech being used by the biggest banks in the world, including DBS, Societe Generale, and BBVA. Now we're adding new pre-configured operational and policy frameworks, additional HSM optics, XRPL fungible token support, and compliance services via Elliptic, bringing this enterprise-grade product to crypto businesses. So big move by Ripple. They continue to expand their services. Now, guys, check this out. This is very bullish. I've been telling you about game theory, and no one wants to get left behind, and that the on and off ramps are being built globally for crypto for institutional and retail investors. I wrote a newsletter recently where I said, I think within the next 6 months, China is going to approve Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs because a jurisdiction that they control, Hong Kong, has already done this, and Hong Kong's been moving at a very rapid pace. Well, enter South Korea, folks. Here we got news. The Korean SEC has formed a virtual committee to discuss the approval of Bitcoin spot ETFs and the allowance of corporate accounts for crypto exchanges. This is bullish and will mitigate the kimchi premium as ARB funds and MMs and moneymakers enter the Korean market. Folks, all the countries, major jurisdictions, and financial districts will launch ETFs. I hope you see the direction we're headed to. Don't be fooled by the current price of Bitcoin and altcoins. Markets move in cycles, right? You're going to have cool down periods. You're going to have pullbacks, building of support levels. But you got to watch the fundamentals. You got to watch the macro and all these different metrics and stats. And that tells the full story. So watch out, guys. I think in South Korea, we're going to see some ETFs being launched specifically for Bitcoin. Then it'll go to Ethereum. You guys know the process. And South Korea does have more clarity than the United States. So you can expect other ETFs like XRP, Solana, and so forth, guys. Very bullish. Now, even more bullish news. Charles Schwab, many of you know, really big investment firm, right? And they work with a lot of different investors, retail and institutional. Well, they put out a new survey, and the title of that survey is Asset Classes ETFs Investors Plan to Invest in via ETFs. And guess what the takeaways are? For millennials, number one is cryptocurrencies. Among all investors, Gen X and boomers and millennials combined, you have crypto as the number two. See where we're headed, folks? We are still relatively early in the macro. I know some of you feel you're late and so forth, but we're still relatively early based on where we're going in the adoption. We haven't hit 1 billion users, as far as adoption and wallets and all these different metrics. So we're not even there yet, folks. So while we are moving faster than the adoption of the internet, we are not at full mainstream, but these ETFs will help us to get there. And just so you know what the other assets that were listed in the survey includes: US equities, bonds / fixed income, real assets, international equity, and alternatives. Crypto is beating a lot of those out. So incredible stuff. But it's what we've been talking about for years. This is a new emerging technology. It's here to stay. It's also a new asset class because this time around, you have a token assigned to these technologies versus in the .com, if you want to get access to the Googles and so forth before they went public, you had to go through private equity. And many of us couldn't do that unless you were an accredited investor and if you were in the good old boy circle of hedge funds and VCs, right? Many of us couldn't even touch that. Now, when the companies went public, sure, you could have bought the stock, but many times, as they go do their IPO, there's an inflation of the stock price, right? The hype and so forth. And don't get me wrong, if you buy it and you held it for a long time, like Amazon and Google, you made money. but nothing moves like crypto, and you can get in very early, and there's no more gatekeepers. There's no more Goldman Sachs investment fund that you have to go through and so forth. You can go buy the token directly. That's why TradFi has weaponized Gary Gensler. They don't like that you are bypassing them. How dare you go get it into these tokens and they can't touch it yet, right? That's the battle that's taking place right now. But disruptive technology always wins. So these firms will have to adapt to this situation. And speaking of these Wall Street firms, Bitwise did an updated chart here highlighting crypto adoption by Wall Street institutions. It highlights the adoption of crypto trading and custody, private crypto funds, crypto ETPs, crypto-enabled payments, and tokenization. Now, we know BlackRock pretty much has all of those. Well, 4 out of 5, I should say. BlackRock has crypto trading and custody, private crypto funds, crypto ETPs, and tokenization, of course. Now, they include all the other firms, Fidelity, Goldman Sachs, and so forth. But they highlighted JP Morgan Chase, and they were trolling Jamie Dimon, saying pretty good for a pet rock, where JP Morgan Chase is involved in all of these things. Remember what Jamie Dimon told you? This is a scam. You'll lose all your money. Anybody getting involved with this, I'm going to fire them from JP Morgan, while secretly they were funding Ethereum via consensus. They were building Quorum, which is a fork of Ethereum in a private version. They were building JPM Coin. They launched crypto funds for their wealthy clients, such as a Bitcoin fund. So watch what they do, not what they say, as I've been telling you guys for years. So guys, we see the capitulation by these institutions. They know. So don't listen to JP Morgan and all these guys. They are trying to fool you because they want to take a position. And when they can make money off of it, watch them flip the narrative. Case in point, Larry Fink. Larry Fink was trashing this asset class. Bitcoin is an avenue, a money laundering tool, and all that. And, we don't have any demand for this, right? Going back to 2018. Now, all of a sudden, oh, buy my ETF. This is the best thing ever. You must allocate 1%, 2% of your portfolio to Bitcoin and all that, right? And then they're tokenizing and they're custodying funds for Circle's USDC. See, they flipped the script because now they can make money off of it with their ETF. So this is why you have to do your own research and you have to not pay attention to what they're saying. I'm not saying don't listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying, but watch what they're doing, right? Do the actions align with the words? And that's important, guys. But bullish news. I know the SEC battle is frustrating, but the industry is fighting back, and that is bullish. And Gensler is on the ropes here, and he's about to get knocked out because the election's around the corner, and I think Donald Trump will for sure fire him. Kamala Harris, there are talks that she will get rid of him, and I think he's going to be gone. I think he's been such a political liability. He's been an embarrassment to the SEC, so they'll get rid of him, I think. And look, Democrats and Republicans are working together in Congress to get legislation through. So I think this will all work out. I think 2025 will be a good year. I'm not saying we won't have challenges, but it's a very different scenario than it was in 2020 when Ripple got sued, and even in 2022 into 2023 with all the lawsuits that were issued. It's very different, given that the crypto industry is spending so much in the elections. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to sign up for my free email newsletter. It's 100% free, filled with crypto knowledge and insights. Also, grab a copy of my book to support the podcast. Buy a few copies for your friends and family who want to learn about crypto. Give them as a gift for this holiday. And if you bought a copy already, please leave a rating and review on Amazon. It will really help me out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.